So today I'm talking about Phase DJ. Let's unplug this. Today I'm talking about Phase. It's not exactly a new thing. It's first announced ages ago now, a couple of years. Took a little while to come out, but my mate was still asking me about it the other day. I don't know what rock he's been sleeping under, but that made me think, oh, maybe actually not everyone's heard of it yet, and it'd be cool to do a kind of, I don't know, updated review from in 2020, I suppose. Yo, what up dudes, welcome to my channel where I talk about DJ stuff and video stuff, and you can come and find out about all that kind of stuff. That's the worst intro ever. So when Phase first came out, I didn't actually buy it. I still didn't buy it. This is my mate's one, my flatmate DJ Sigai. He lives in the room next door. He's normally banging out music, but luckily I've got a bit of quiet time. But yeah, it's actually his, and I've been borrowing it a lot. Maybe every Sunday for our Drop Beats radio show, and I've been using it, and I've just been quite impressed by it actually, so I kind of wanted to make a video about it. I've also borrowed it a couple of times before lockdown happened and took it out on some gigs, and it got us out of a few holes here and there. So it's actually really useful for certain things. I actually regret not buying it now because it seems to have got to such a good level where they've updated the firmware and got it really solid that I just, wish that I'd stumped up the cash in the first place. I think you could probably got it a lot cheaper when it first came out. It's 270, what is it? Let me look at this. It's currently £279 on Amazon if you want 2 of these little receivers. And it's $449 on Amazon if you want 4 of them. But yeah, the reason I didn't buy it was they kind of did it as like a Kickstarter set without going through Kickstarter. They took lots of pre-orders and I guess they got their funding that way, and that always seems like a bit of a risk to me, so I didn't stump up the cash on this occasion. I'm not really normally someone who goes in for being an early adopter of technology. I often wait for like the second or third generation just to see, if they can iron out any kinks or anything like that. At first, I think I was probably warranted in my thoughts there. When it first came out, it was a bit dodge, and lots of things were happening where it wasn't really connecting. The charge didn't last that long, and it just seemed a bit janky, basically. But it turns out with this, they've actually managed to get all those kinks out just by updating the firmware, and it's in a really good place now. But the too long didn't read version of this review is that Phase is now really, really good, and I'm probably going to buy it just for certain occasions. At first it kind of seemed like a bit of a gimmick to me. I'd see all these videos of people scratching like with it in the air and they'd be cutting away, and I'd be like, okay, what's the point of that? But it really does get around a lot of issues which DJs run into when they're playing out, like bad cables in the decks which don't really work very well with Serato, stuff like confetti and bits and drinks and things getting spilled on the turntables, so that when the needle goes round it like hits it and bounces off, too much bass, anything like that really. Phase actually takes care of that because it's wireless, so it actually takes away the need of the needle. And the needle is obviously the thing which goes wrong mostly with traditional turntables. So which version would I buy if I was going to buy it now? I'd probably just get like the more basic essential package where you just get 2 of the receivers. The other one is you get 4, which is obviously really useful because if you're like a pro DJ and you're going back-to-back sets or doing like day-long sets, you're going to need to be able to switch these out. If you want to back up, obviously it'd be really good to have a couple charged in the background, but now with the firmware updates, one of these can kind of go anywhere up to like 7 hours, which for me personally takes care of most the gigs which I play. I probably play about 5 hours max, so I don't necessarily need to have 4 sets of these. It's not like I'm going to be flying from one club to the next to go and DJ, so yeah, I'll just get the essential one. So what do you get in the box? You get 2 receivers, a docking station, magnetic stickers, a USB cable, RCA cables, and just like your little quick guide. The box is all pretty nice, and it's all kind of, they've obviously been taking a bit of inspiration from Apple and the way they've packaged it all, and it's all just really neat and tidy. One thing you potentially do need, which is kind of handy, is if you get like an extra USB plug like this, because then you can plug it into that and plug that into the wall, and that will free up one of your USB cables to power the Phase. So yeah, that would be a handy thing to get. You've probably got one of these around the house already, but yeah, this doesn't come in the box basically. Build quality, as I say, it's all really solid. Look, it's got these magnets in there, and if you look at that box itself, it's all really well designed. and there's just a lot of attention to detail. When these light up, it looks really cool, and it just gives that kind of sign of quality. And the way they communicate, basically when they're syncing, they will flash or pulse, and when it's synced they will stop, and you can like change the color of those to kind of match, so the left deck and the right deck. And it's just, I would say, in terms of build quality, it's really solid. And Sugai's been taking these around for a while, and I've also taken them around. Don't really feel worried about taking these places to go on gigs, because it's just really well done. So setup, it's I'm not going to go into too much detail with setup, but like one thing I noted is that it doesn't come charged out of the box. Apparently, I was just looking at some other videos, and it doesn't come out of charge of the box. So you got to charge it a couple of hours before you use it. You got to sign in and register like normal, and that's it really. It works with most DVSs, I think. So Serato, Traktor, Virtual DJ, all the big ones. We've personally been using it with Serato, which is our DVS of choice. But anyone who used to have a Serato box, it kind of works like that. You plug your RCAs into the line in, so it's going to have to go into a mix with an integrated sound card, like a Pioneer S9 or something like that. If it's not got an internal sound card, then you plug it into the Serato box. So it can get to be a bit fiddly, I imagine, if you've got so many sets of cables, and that was kind of a criticism of the system. If you haven't got the integrated mixer, then it can get a bit messy. It seems like they might have come up with an update already, or they've announced one which isn't out yet, where it's basically going to take away the need for RCA cables entirely. But I'll talk about that in a bit. So after that, you just get your magnetic strip, put it to the record, and you get 4 in the box. They're not reusable, but you just add it to a Serato record or even a scratch record, then stick this onto it, and it should keep it in place. And you just calibrate it by just leaving this, and it'll go boop 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 pulse, and then if you leave it still until the light stops moving, that's when it's calibrated. In Serato DJ, you go to the settings, and then you go to CD/vinyl and select CDJ, because these basically run through the line in, not on the phono. You don't actually need the phono plugged in at all, and that's kind of a cool thing. But if you want to have a backup, I guess, or do some scratching on normal records, you still got that available input. So one thing which is really cool about this is that you get a perfect circle every time. Every time I see that, it amazes me. I'm just like, wow, that's like, you're just not used to seeing that after using Serato for many years and just having records and stuff like that. It's really, really good. And that's, one of the biggest pros of this. It's basically really stable, and the fact that it bypasses the use of the cables, it can just be really handy. Say you're using a turntable which is a bit dodgy, like my left-hand one over here recently has been just not really responding very well. I think there's something wrong with the tone arm. So, to get around that, I've just been using Sugai's Phase, and it's just really taking care of that issue, temporarily at least. Obviously, I'm still going to have to get it fixed at some point, but it's the same at certain clubs. You get there and they've got really bad turntables, and you can just sort of use this, and it really helps in general, make it not such a bad experience. I guess some other side effects of that is you're saving on needles, no skips. So what are the cons? I guess with anything like this, you've got to look up at the price and think, is that worth me getting? If you're flush with cash and, you want the extra convenience, it's definitely worth it. If you're just a casual DJ, maybe you don't need it. I guess you do get a bit of delay, but it's not something that I've really felt is terrible, and it's something you could probably get used to, if you practice with it long enough. And it's not bad at all. Another con which I mentioned before is if you've not got a built-in audio interface in your mixer, it's a bit of a pain. You're going to end up with all these cables everywhere, and if you're going back to back with someone, you're going to have to go behind there and unplug stuff and plug things in, which always annoys people, and it's a bit sketchy, isn't it? Like the music can always cut off, and it's just not cool. If the batteries run out, that's a definite con. As I said, it's been updated to 7 hours, so maybe not a big issue, but there's always the potential for something like this to go wrong. And despite them making it much better, it's obviously never going to be perfect, and you can't rely on it. You can't really rely on anything DJ related. You should always have backup on backup on backup, and I guess you could look at this as a backup as well. It's like, say your needles are knackered, you go, well, I've got my Phase, boom, that's another way of dealing with issues. So the last thing I wanted to talk about in this is HID mode. I think it's the technology they use in Pioneer stuff right now, where you can plug everything all together, get it all working through USB and not use any RCAs at all. So they've announced the same thing for this actual Phase. So what they're proposing is that you can plug in the Let's wait for this fucking... So what they're proposing is the same thing. Get rid of all the RCA cables. So you should be able to plug this directly into your laptop, and then from your laptop goes into the mixer, and boom, that's it. Like I think that's it. I mean, I have to double check that. Sorry if it's wrong. So I'm not entirely sure which way it's all going to plug in. All I know is they'll be getting rid of the RCA cables, and then you'll just have 2 USBs, in which case it's way more simple. And that will be an update to this particular phase. It's not like they're doing a phase Mark II. They're just going to use the same bit of kit and make it so that you can go from here to, I guess, your computer, and then your computer to your mixer. Yeah, that's got to be the only way, because there's only 1 USB on here. So that sounds pretty sick, and that makes me think like, oh, you know, they really are looking after the customers here, and they're kind of trying to keep it current and updated. And I think that's quite a lot of the battle when it comes to technology like this. You don't want a manufacturer who's going to jump onto something and then get tired of it after a few years and get, you know, just stop supporting it. When you've got the manufacturers really listening to the customers and trying to do what they want and answer their queries with it, then, you know, you're onto a winner basically. So that's it, Phase. Pretty cool. I think it's really good, and as I say, I'm probably going to purchase one. I don't necessarily regret waiting, because I think it's probably only really recently become a really good thing to have in your arsenal, and the fact that it's going to get even better soon, you know, sometime in 2020, we're not sure when, but yeah, that's cool as well. If you found this review useful, please drop a like and subscribe. I just do DJ and video stuff and kind of try and bring you useful information for each of those things. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I'm not very good at this bit, so bye.